listen carefully. This message found you for a reason. Today is not just another day. There are moments in time when something shifts, quietly, invisibly, but powerfully. Moments when heaven intervenes before something breaks. This is one of those moments. I need you to understand something before we go any further. You were closer to a breaking point than you realize. Not physically, not visibly, but spiritually, emotionally, internally. There was a version of your future that almost unfolded, and when it was revealed, even I couldn't stay silent. I didn't speak at first. I paused, because what I saw wasn't simple. It wasn't light. It carried weight, real weight, the kind that makes even divine messengers stand still for a moment. But then Archangel Michael stepped forward, not with chaos, not with fear, but with authority, and everything changed. Here's what you didn't see. There were doors you tried to walk through recently that closed. At the time, it felt confusing, maybe even frustrating. You asked yourself, why is this not working? Why does everything feel delayed? But what you didn't know is this: those doors were not opportunities. They were traps. Situations that looked right on the surface, but carried consequences underneath. Relationships that seemed promising, but were never meant to stay. And before those things could fully enter your life, they were cut off. Not randomly, not accidentally, but intentionally. Because you are being protected. There were people around you, some closer than you think, who didn't fully understand your value, your calling, your direction. Decisions were made, conversations happened, energy shifted behind your back, and that could have created a chain reaction in your life. But it didn't, because before it could reach you, intervention happened. Archangel Michael didn't wait. He moved ahead of the problem, not loudly, not dramatically, but precisely, like removing something before it even becomes a threat. That delay you felt, that confusion, that sudden distance from certain people, that was protection in disguise. There's something else you need to hear. You've been stronger than you give yourself credit for. There were nights you overthought everything, moments you questioned your path, times you felt like giving up quietly, without telling anyone. But you didn't. You kept going, even when it felt like nothing was changing. And that matters more than you think. Because now, things are shifting. What was delayed is starting to move. What was hidden is becoming clear. And what almost went wrong has been completely redirected. You're stepping into a different phase now, one where the right people start showing up naturally. The confusion begins to lift, the pressure starts to ease, and things finally begin to make sense. Not all at once, but steadily. But here's the warning. Don't go backward. Don't reopen doors that were closed. Don't chase people who walked away. Don't question what was removed from your life, because what left was not aligned with where you're going. And where you're going requires clarity. It requires space. It requires peace. Right now, you might still feel a little uncertain. That's okay, because you're in the middle of a transition, not the end of the story. So take this with you. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not unlucky. You are being redirected. And sometimes, the greatest protection doesn't feel like a blessing in the moment. It feels like delay, rejection, silence. But later, you realize it saved you. This message didn't come to scare you. It came to steady you, to remind you that even when things didn't make sense, you were never unprotected. Take a breath, slow down, and trust this next phase. Because what's ahead of you now is not what almost happened. It's something better. And just when you thought the hardest part was over, there's something else you need to know. What's coming next is not just a change, it's a reveal. Because the truth is, there were things hidden from you, not to hurt you, but to protect you. There were conversations you never heard, situations you were never invited into, outcomes that were quietly redirected before they could reach you. And now, that layer of protection is slowly lifting. Not all at once, but enough for you to begin seeing clearly. You're going to start noticing things, small things at first, a shift in someone's behavior, a sudden realization about a situation, a moment where everything just clicks. And when it does, don't ignore it, because that clarity, it's not coincidence, it's alignment. For a long time, you were moving through fog, second-guessing your instincts, questioning your decisions, trying to make sense of things that never fully added up. But now, the fog is lifting, and with that clarity comes a choice. You can either go back to what felt familiar, even if it wasn't right, or step forward into something unknown, but finally aligned. And yes, the unknown can feel uncomfortable because it requires trust, not in others, but in yourself, in your growth, in your awareness, in everything you've learned the hard way. Because you didn't go through all of that for nothing. Every delay, every disappointment, every moment you felt stuck, it trained you. It sharpened your judgment. It strengthened your patience. It taught you how to see beyond the surface. And now, you're being asked to use that. This next phase is different. You won't need to chase. You won't need to force. You won't need to convince anyone of your worth. Because what's meant for you will recognize you. And it will feel different, calmer, clearer, more stable. Not chaotic, not confusing, not draining. If it brings confusion, it's not aligned. If it makes you question your value, it's not aligned. If it feels like you have to shrink yourself to keep it, it's not aligned. This is how you'll know. And one more thing, you may feel the urge to go back and fix things, to explain yourself, to get closure, to make someone finally understand you. Don't. Not everything needs closure through conversation. Some things close through distance, through silence, through moving on without looking back. Because closure doesn't always come from answers. Sometimes it comes from acceptance. Acceptance that not everyone was meant to stay, not everything was meant to work, and not every chapter needs to be reopened. And the moment you truly accept that, you'll feel it, a release, a lightness, a sense of peace that doesn't need validation. Because now, you're not the same person anymore. You don't react the same way. You don't tolerate the same things. You don't chase what once distracted you. You've changed. And that change is exactly why your life is about to change too. So don't rush this part. Don't force clarity. Don't panic if everything isn't fully clear yet, because you're not lost. You're in transition. And transitions feel uncomfortable right before everything starts making sense. Trust this phase, even if it feels slow, even if it feels uncertain, because what's aligning right now is bigger than what you can currently see. And soon, you won't need a message like this anymore, because you'll already know. You'll feel it. And this is the moment where everything begins to shift. Not loudly, not all at once, but in a way you can feel. A quiet shift, a deep knowing, something inside you finally settling. Because the version of you that struggled, that overthought, that kept holding on to things that weren't right, is starting to fade. And a new version of you is stepping forward, more aware, more grounded, more certain. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because you became stronger. This is your breakthrough moment. Not the kind that comes with noise, but the kind that changes everything internally. You'll notice it in small ways. The things that once triggered you won't anymore. The people who once confused you will suddenly make sense. Not because they changed, but because you see clearly now. And clarity changes everything. This is where your power returns. Not power over others, but power over yourself, your decisions, your boundaries, your energy. You stop explaining, you stop chasing, you stop proving. And in that moment, everything starts aligning. Because the truth is, you were never meant to fight for what's already yours. What belongs to you will come with clarity, will come with peace, will come without confusion. And this next phase, it's not about survival anymore. It's about alignment. About walking into rooms where you don't feel out of place. About connecting with people who don't make you question yourself. About opportunities that don't feel forced. And most importantly, a life that doesn't feel like a constant struggle. But before all of that fully arrives, there's one final step. Let go. Let go of what didn't work, what didn't stay, what didn't choose you. Not with anger, not with regret, but with understanding. Because everything that left your life made space for what's coming next, and what's coming is different. It won't feel like chaos. It won't feel like confusion. It won't feel like you're constantly trying to fix something. It will feel natural, calm, right. So when it starts happening, don't question it. Don't overthink it. Don't sabotage it by expecting it to go wrong. Just allow it. Because you've already done the hard part. You've already endured, learned, grown, survived. Now, it's time to receive. And remember this, you didn't miss your chance. You didn't fall behind. You didn't lose your path. You were being prepared. Prepared for a version of your life that requires a stronger, wiser, more grounded you. And now, you're ready. So take a deep breath and step forward. Because what's ahead of you now is not something you need to chase. It's something that's finally aligning with you. And when it fully arrives, you'll understand why everything happened the way it did. Not with confusion, but with clarity. Not with pain, but with peace. And in that moment, you won't need signs anymore, because you'll already know you made it. And before you leave, there's something you need to understand. You didn't find this message by accident. Out of all the videos, all the moments, all the distractions, you stopped here. And that matters, because messages like this don't reach everyone. They reach people who are ready. Ready to see differently, ready to move differently, ready to step into something more. So if you're still here right now, reading this, listening to this, take a second, pause, and ask yourself honestly, what in your life have you been holding on to that you already know you need to release? Don't answer it out loud. Just feel it. Because that feeling, that quiet realization, that's your confirmation. And here's what I want you to do next. Not for me, but for you. Make one small decision today that your future self will thank you for. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. Maybe it's letting go of something, saying no where you used to say yes, walking away from what drains you, or finally choosing yourself. Whatever it is, do it with clarity, because this moment, it's a turning point, and turning points don't always feel dramatic. Sometimes they feel quiet, like this. If this message connected with you, you don't need to force anything. Just acknowledge it. And if you feel it, you can support this space by staying connected, coming back when you need clarity, and continuing to choose growth. Because this isn't just one message, it's a reminder that you're not stuck, you're not lost, and you're definitely not done. And one last thing, the next time doubt shows up, and it will, trying to pull you back into old patterns, old thinking, old fears, remember this moment. Remember how something inside you shifted, because that shift, that awareness, that clarity, that's the real change. And once you see clearly, you can't go back to being the same. So move forward with confidence, with calm, with trust, because everything you've been waiting for is not behind you anymore. It's in front of you, and this time, you're ready for it. Before you go, this matters more than you think. Just before this ends, there's one thing I don't want you to forget. A few minutes ago, you were thinking differently, maybe a little confused, maybe a little heavy, maybe still holding on to something. But right now, something inside you feels lighter, more aware, more clear. That shift you feel, that's not random. That's what happens when you finally start seeing things for what they are. So don't ignore this moment, because most people do. They feel something, they realize something, and then they go back to their old patterns, old habits, old thinking, old decisions, and nothing changes. But you're not going to do that this time, because now you've seen it. And once you see clearly, you can't unsee it. So here's something simple but powerful. If this message truly connected with you, type this in your mind or even in the comments. I choose clarity. Not for anyone else, but as a decision, a line you draw within yourself, because clarity changes everything. It changes who you allow in your life, what you accept, what you walk away from, and most importantly, it changes how you see yourself. And when that changes, everything else follows. So don't rush away from this feeling. Stay with it for a moment. Let it settle. Let it become real. Because this right here, this is the beginning of your next chapter. And the next time you feel lost or unsure or pulled back into confusion, come back to this. Not just this message, but this version of yourself. The one who understands, the one who sees clearly, the one who is ready. And here's the part most people miss. This isn't the end. It's a loop. Because every time you return to clarity, you move forward again, stronger, wiser, more aligned. So if you ever feel like you're starting over, you're not. You're starting from a higher level. Now take one last breath, slowly, and move forward, because the version of you you've been waiting for is already here.